But yeah, for today's episode, we'll be discussing video game movies and how they have been
they suck.
mishandled, historically mishandled.
Exactly. So, with that said, I think we can both agree that, for the most part, how about Dalton? Why don't you give your quick thoughts, your history involving the title of a gamer?
Don't ever call me that. I have always enjoyed video games my entire life. As a youngest sibling, before I was actually able to play them competently, they would hand me the calculator with no batteries in it and tell me, "Oh, I'm that player." And it's like, dude, it's just I'm not. That's a signpost. That's not an NPC. Basically, for that though, I'd say my first console was the N64, which perfectly synced as someone who has 3 siblings. It was a 4-player console, but of course, the only thing I was really going to play was getting my butt kicked by my older brother in GoldenEye 007, Mario Party. We didn't have Mario Kart. We had Smash. We had the OG Super Smash Bros. For the N64. Which I say is one of the most hype things ever. It's personally my favorite Smash overall. And I just say for the N64, that is why I also, with video games, I always enjoyed 3D ones way more than even like classic 2D. I didn't dislike them, but being raised on a 3D console, I always preferred open worlds, platformers, even like early shooters. So yeah, for me, video games, I've been playing them for a while. Up after that, I'd say it was the PlayStation 2. Played a lot of classics on that, including all the old GTAs. All of them have been recently remastered too, also. Where I would also get my butt handed to me. My older brother, I don't know why, in like any classic shooter, I absolutely just lose most of the time. For that, it was Battlefront and Battlefront 2. He prefers the original Battlefront. I prefer Battlefront 2 just because it had more stuff in it. Even recently when I saw him, I forget when, I think it was about a week or so ago, he still beat me. I don't know. I just can't, even after playing like the newer ones for like the PS4 and such, I can't win, honestly.
He's got that experience on you, man.
Yeah, just like those classic ones, I don't know. Is it I'm not skilled enough, or is it just...
It's not. It's the fact that video games improve upon your not your dexterity, your hand-eye coordination, and he's been playing them longer, so his hand-eye coordination is better, naturally.
And even on newer games, depending on the game, especially because a lot of them are remasters, especially like a lot of the Call of Duties.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Modern Warfare. Shout out to my girlfriend, Audrey. I can't win in Call of Duty. I think that's why it's one of my least favorite shooters ever. Because she beat me in multiple 1v1s. She beat my older brother, actually, even though I wasn't sure how much she played it before, but I forgot she had a PS3, so she played a bunch of the classics on that. For me, it was Xbox 360, because it's obviously a little bit better, like, generally for its time, too. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say I ever converted straight to Xbox, though. I only use an Xbox controller because it works best with a computer, like playing any games on a computer, because Microsoft communicates with Microsoft.
Fair enough.
You want to tell them about your experience, or...
My experience with video games ends with the word go. I have...
Pokemon Go?
Well, somewhat.
I actually didn't play Pokemon Go, even when it was, like, popular.
I played it for a solid hour, got bored, and deleted the app.
Because it was I feel like, wasn't it kind of like geocaching?
It kind of was. Well,
digital geocaching.
That was the whole like selling point for our PE teachers whenever they gave geocaching as like an option to do during gym. They marketed it as just Pokemon Go. That was the whole selling point. Yeah. It
has an accent above it. It's not Pokemon. It's Pokemon. Like, do you say pocket or do you say pocket? You put your phone in your pocket, not your pocket. It's Pocket Monsters, Pokemon. I know this, and I don't even like Pokemon. I don't hate Pokemon. I just was a Zelda person growing up. Anyway.
I have no video game experience. I have never gravitated towards video games as an art form. I do acknowledge that video games in many ways are much more harder to make and much more harder to advertise than most of the stuff that I gravitate towards, like movies and TV shows. Video games are much harder to make, video games are much harder to market, and I do appreciate them as an art form. It's just not an art form that I've ever gravitated towards. It's not that I haven't played video games before. I've played Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I've played Super Mario on the Wii. I've played... I actually own like a little... what is it? A little Super Nintendo knockoff with all of the Super Nintendo games on the actual console itself. And every now and again I'll play it, but every now and again most of the games I play is Tetris. So
yeah, from what I can tell, you've always been a classics person, like absolute old classics.
Absolutely.
Classics.
Absolutely. And even with newer video games, I don't play them. I will literally wait for the story modes to be available on YouTube, watch the story modes, and appreciate them. I do appreciate a lot of story mode video games, to be fair.
Like, would you say like the Telltale style, like choose your path genre?
Oh yeah, I would say that I've never played them because I don't have a video game console, and getting video game consoles nowadays is really expensive. So I would say that if there is a genre of video games that I could see myself getting into, it is the Telltale games. It is games like Beyond Two Souls. It is games like Detroit Beyond Human or whatever it's called. Become Human.
I never played it. I always wanted to. I forget what. I feel like there was something I was busy with when it came out, so I just never ended up like playing it.
I'm pretty sure that came out around 2019, early 2020.
Probably like maybe late 2018 actually, or at least that's when it was like advertised.
Wow.
I feel like for me, those games never stuck. I think just because you have so many choices, but a lack of like freedom.
You have too many choices that when you make the choice, your brain instantly goes to, oh man, what if I did the other one?
I was gonna say, well, why can't I choose the other one? My favorite genre will always be like, big platform, big sandbox. Like,
you just want to do everything in a world. You gravitate towards Zelda, you gravitate towards GTA, you gravitate towards that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I could see myself doing that, but I could also see myself getting really bored very easily. Like, you tried to introduce me to Doom, and I was...
Also, the controller was not working. Literally, one of the buttons was, like, jammed, so I was saying, why aren't you shooting? And the trigger button was not... It was not working, and I felt so bad because I had used the other controller that I have, not the one that was, like, nearby. So, I have to apologize for that. But you still should play it.
You tried to introduce me to Doom, and besides the problems with the controller, I just got really bored, and I wasn't even like 10 minutes in, and I was just like, oh, I'm done.
I feel like the big hurdle for a lot of people to start is 2 joysticks. Because with the classics, it's usually one dial pad or joystick. And the camera's always following you from like the sky.
I've never liked that about the joysticks. That you constantly one is for like movement and the other is for just shifting views. And immediately when you mess up on your initial try and you just look up while you're in combat, it instantly messes you up, and you're like, no.
I mean, if you were in real life in combat and you just looked up and pointed up while you were...
Exactly.
Like, why would you do that? Is that there? No, it's your fault. You looked up during a fight in a game.
Exactly. I've never gravitated towards video games. I appreciate them. I do like the simplicity of the original Super Nintendo controller. That I've always gravitated towards.
That one looks more complicated to me, just knowing...
Really?
I don't know why.
Up, down, left, right, and then A, B is complicated
and
to you?
And XY.
No, it's just...
On the Super... Here, let's
No, Super Nintendo is just the little plus sign and the 2 red dots. That is A, B, which I'm pretty sure is jump and something else. Maybe
no. SNES controller has...
The Super Nintendo, is it just...
Yeah, look. A, B, X, Y.
What am I thinking?
The NES, not the SNES.
NES, that's what I keep me. That's what I keep me.
A, B, X, Y.
Was the Super Nintendo the first one to implement left and right triggers or whatever they're called?
Maybe. No, I think technically one of the Ataris, it was like a joystick on a square pad, but it had 2 buttons on the top, so technically pinball had the trigger buttons at the top.
Yeah, that
and it had not a joystick, but yeah. So
to quote an old favorite an old guilty pleasure sort of YouTuber, my opinion about video games has always been the mentality of video games. There is no time in life to ponder on such useless inactivity like video games. Yeah.
Who are you quoting?
I'm quoting the history nerds, which
Tell.
yeah,
All things nerd.
all things. Yeah,
It
all things
fits.
TV.
If it fits, it fits.
Exactly. So, with that said, we are going to be looking at at something that combines your love of video games, my lack of love for video games, but my love of movies.
Your secondhand love of video games.
My secondhand love of video games. I love the act of watching it,
Yeah.
which is why naturally I should gravitate towards video game movies, but there's always something missing from video games.
There's always something wrong with them. Like, just something that goes wrong. Even when the movie itself is good, there's something that messes it up in the process. Just some sort of miscommunication or, like, input error.
Exactly. And we will get into those problems, how to fix them, and just the best video games that could translate to movies. But before we do that,
Are we going to get into the polls?
we gonna get on some polls.
Let's get on those
man.
Instagram polls.
All right, so on our Instagram at Real Wreckers, we do the polls in which our first one is the question, what do you think is the best video game movie?
Best video game movie.
The best one out of all of them.
That is a toughie. I have actually been
There-
trying to
there are
ponder
not-
that for,
Yeah, there are not a lot of great ones. They're just...
I guess, objectively recently. I think the first Sonic movie did the best.
Really?
As of recent, everyone keeps saying Resident Evil. I had not seen it, but
Which Resident Evil? It's because I saw Raccoon City last year and it sucked.
what was the first Resident Evil movie good?
I don't know. I've never seen Resident Evil and never played Resident Evil, but I saw Resident Evil Raccoon City because I heard that I could see without seeing or doing any of that, and I thought it sucked.
I can name good video game adaptations to TV shows, but I don't know why. I feel like I never got into adaptations to movies.
I can name good movies based on video game platforms, but not good movies based on video games themselves.
I think maybe Ready Player One, technically, even though it's not a video game movie exclusively, it's more like a...
Even though I'm not a fan of Free Guy, that does have a lot of great, like, open world games where scenarios and sort of Easter eggs for real video game fans, I do feel. Mm-hmm. And it does have Dalton's doppelganger, Ryan Reynolds.
Apparently, because not sure if everyone here knows, when we were pulling up to the mall, I think a random stranger did the pull your window down hand thing. Well,
We thought they were mad at us.
because they were just walking through the parking lot as we were slowly getting through to our parking spot, and they did the pull down the window. Like, you look like Ryan Reynolds. And I'm like, who? Him? And I point to you. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, you. I'm like, how? He's blonde.
Meanwhile, I'm just sitting in the passenger seat, just wondering, like, oh wow, I'm the ugly friend.
No, you're just not the Ryan Reynolds friend, apparently.
You look like Mint Mobile's owner, and I look like just some guy.
Is Mint Mobile that giant network giant?
Well, when you put it
Wait,
like
is
that, there are
Ryan-
a ton.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds owns Mint Mobile. I am so slow.
That's why he's in all the ads saying that he is the owner of Mint Mobile.
I thought it was I don't know why. I was thinking of it as one of the AT&T, Verizon, all those services. I didn't realize. I was like, oh wait, Ryan. Oh yeah, Ryan Reynolds. Oh, that's where the joke came from. But yeah, I did not catch up with that.
So objectively, which do you think is the best video game movie? Or at least, what is your favorite?
I think my favorite that I enjoyed and could go back and watch, knowing video game references, Ready Player One, because I feel like it took itself seriously, but it wasn't so diehard, gripping to the source material that it could be a little more open ended. It's kind of like
Now, what about movies based on specific video games?
I guess Sonic technically did it the best because it adapted things from the actual games. I'm not a big Sonic fan, just knowing everyone's like, why is he interact with real people? And it's I'm pretty sure in one of the late really horrible, bad, most hated. Pretty sure we saw a JonTron video where he was making fun of it. He does interact with real people because he crosses into the people world, which is just the real world from his.
So taking the fun out of half of it. So that's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, obnoxiously absurd. exaggerated character interacting with like real people. It's not like one of those cool things where it's like just different art styles clashing. It's like, no, it's just an absurdly abnormal looking creature made of CG interacting with people. I'd say for that though, yeah, I guess as of recent, either that or was Detective Pikachu good? I meant to ask you that. I feel
honestly,
like I never got into these.
It's weird because I'm not a Pokemon fan. I've never played Detective Pikachu. I've never really gotten into the show. I've never been into the lore of anything or anything like that. I loved Detective Pikachu.
But did you love the Ryan Reynolds voicing a Pikachu in a movie that coincidentally is a Pokemon movie, or did you like Detective Pikachu the movie?
They made it work.
They made it work?
They made it work. Without spoiling anything, they made it work.
Did the movie make it work, or did Ryan Reynolds make it work?
Both.
But if you didn't have Ryan Reynolds and you just had a Pikachu detective who didn't say anything except Pika, would it work?
No, but that's part of the story.
Okay. That's the only thing that like confused me, because I'm like, that seems very outlandish even for Pokemon. It just seems weird, and I was really confused that Nintendo would allow that. But yeah, for me, video game TV shows somehow worked okay.
Because video game TV shows are allowed to take their time.
They're allowed to span because it's hard to crunch a 20-hour experience, often 50, into 2 hours.
That's why, despite a lot of the hate that the new Halo trailer has been getting, especially with the design of Cortana, I'm actually looking forward to the Halo TV show, because even though I've never played the games, it looks awesome and it looks accurate to the games.
The most correct thing you can do, I might repeat this, with a video game adaptation at all, does it look like those crazy, awesome cinematic trailers that get you hyped? Does it look like them?
The answer for the new Halo trailer? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So
I didn't get into Halo until like very recently, so it's kind of a miracle that I like knew anything about it. I didn't play it until I got a computer and the new one released. So forgive me for not being crazy into any of that necessarily.
I'm not gonna lie, I used to be a fake fan of Halo in middle school.
Because it looked cool. There were cool things from it. It's like, oh, this is a really cool shirt. Wait, you like Halo? No, I just thought the shirt was cool. I didn't know it was a...
It looked cool. It had a great theme song, and it was just that...
A great theme song?
A great theme song.
A great theme song. Dun, 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 dun. But yeah.
So, yeah, like...
You know the reason I really like the most recent one, too? Story-wise.
Oh, yeah, sure.
What genre do you think it is?
The new Halo game?
Yeah.
Sci-fi.
Well, what like type of game genre?
First-person shooter.
Uh-huh.
Is it third-person shooter?
It's first-person, but
okay.
I like...
Is it open world?
Yep, it's open world, which is really weird, apparently. I was like totally comfortable with it. I was like, wow, this works great. It's like a big open world. For me, though, I didn't know... I only played Destiny, which was made by the original people who made Halo.
Oh, wow. So you basically, from what I've seen, you've basically played Halo just by playing Destiny.
Yes, but instead of like a sci-fi shooter, it's a sci-fi fantasy MMO shooter. MMO FPS RPG, open world sandbox, DLC mess.
So
it was the second game I ever played on my PS4.
So of the video game movies, you would say that Sonic is probably the best?
I think because it's not so... weird, but it's also like a kids movie. It's enjoyable for kids.
Okay, good. I think it sucks, but okay. And my heart and mind sort of break at the fact that it's getting a sequel, and I'm pretty sure a third one is already in development, and I hate society for it.
But Jim Carrey
is great. Don't put him in that movie.
Why?
That is a stupid movie, and he deserves better.
I don't know. It seems pretty on the nose for him.
He has the perfect amount of energy for a classic Jim Carrey performance. This is a bad Jim Carrey movie. This is a bad video game movie. I don't even play the Sonic games, and I'm just like rolling my eyes at it the entire time because I love the actor. I love the comedian who plays Sonic, who voices Sonic. He is not funny. And he just says quip after quip after quip in that movie, and it drives me nuts. I want him to shut up.
You know what I think it was missing, too? Stuff that makes the kids and the adults laugh.
Exactly.
You know, like, if you sneak in jokes for the adults, it kind of works. If it's either a hit or miss for that though, and it was just a kids movie, from what I can tell.
See, the weird thing is that with Detective Pikachu, the quips in that film worked more than Sonic, because Sonic's quips were all dated references that were very modern. Detective Pikachu's quips were all very situational and was making jokes specifically in that moment, about that moment, not about things within the modern era. You didn't see him making a Game of Thrones joke or anything like that. I don't really remember Sonic's jokes. I just remember they were modern.
You just remember how bad they were?
They were... I just remember how...
Oh, wait, my favorite... Sorry, I just realized. My favorite, I literally just forgot because it was literally one page up in my notes. Rampage. Honestly. It fits because...
it's a guilty pleasure for me.
And also, it's just like, man, Kong 2.5 is great.
I know it's stupid, but it's so much fun.
Like, it's not another Dwayne Johnson in the jungle. It's not just mindless action. It's like, oh,
he's in the concrete jungle.
Oh, that was actually kind of good.
There you go.
You see, that's timeless, though. That's not dated. You're not disowned this episode. Congrats.
Exactly.
Well, really, we're both disowned. Sorry. We have to apologize to Matt after this.
So, in my opinion, the best video game movie, it's actually kind of tough because the best video game movies are mediocre films. They are movies that are just fine and instantly forgettable. Like the new Tomb Raider movie from, I'm pretty sure it was 2018. It was fine. It was not bad, but it was not memorable. And I can't think of a single person who remembers it. And I can't think of a single person who wants a sequel to it, despite the fact that it got good reviews. It's just that no one cared because it was just the game.
I think a great quote that I came up with years ago. Good photography is bad realism. Great video game adaptations can be mediocre as movies.
Yeah.
Good photography relies on how pretty can this look, how clean, how sharp, but not so sharp that you can see someone's pores when you take a picture of them. Great realism, you can see the oil in their skin, you can see their pores, you can see their eyelid, you can see their skin details. That's good realism. But it's terrible photography because I don't want to see your pores in a picture, unless it's so amazing that you actually crafted each detail. When adapting what makes a good game to a movie, you're cutting out aspects that don't function when you're building a really good movie narrative because it's already there. It's kind of like how a good character design can translate or it doesn't at all. It's all or nothing for a lot of that. Unless you find a sweet spot. Exactly.
I feel like the new Uncharted movie is going to fall into this category. I feel like it's going to be a fine adaptation, a fine movie, just not a memorable one that's going to stick in the public's psyche as much as Detective Pikachu did. I keep referencing Detective Pikachu as a gold standard of video game movies.
So far.
And I hate the fact that I am because I don't even love Pokemon, but Pokemon, but it's actually a good movie.
I don't know. Knowing you, I feel like you like Pokemon, the thing. You don't like the game. You don't play the games. I don't play the games. I know some of the things.
I don't play the games, and I didn't grow up on the anime. I grew up on
the cards. Did you grow up on the cards?
I didn't grow up on the cards. I grew up on other children's anime that what was it? Marketed cards. Marketed cards and little balls that pop up on magnet cards.
No offense, you fall into that category where you're like, well, the only real Pokemon is the first original show in the first 365 whatever of the first 3 generations of them before they became legendary or whatever. It's like the Dragon Ball Z paradox where it's like, man, Super isn't even the greatest one. You just gotta stick to Z. Everything after that is fake or too legendary and bright and glowy. And then those people get bashed by the people who are like, no, Dragon Ball Z is all punches and filler. No, Dragon Ball Classic is original and fun and quippy, and it's the only real one, really. Everything after Dragon Ball is that and paradox, that dichotomy just
and then that one drains. Lonely person in the back of the room says, I like GT the best.
He's not there. That's not a real person. There is no GT lover in the room.
There is. They
Billy,
just
Billy.
have a dunce cap on their head.
Are the Dragon Ball GT lovers in the room with us now? Didn't think so.
Well, yes, we just can't see them because they are either invisible or we are ignoring them.
Yeah. When I say fake fan, I mean these fans don't exist.
Exactly.
But I feel like you do like Pokemon, just not the games.
Exactly.
I feel like you enjoy like skits, like the stuff. I don't know how to describe it.
I appreciate like the lore of it. I appreciate like,
That's a good word. I need to
Exactly.
remember that word.
the lore of it.
Yeah, I keep forgetting the word lore is the thing. I'm like, oh yeah, the details, the story. The
Shout out
characters.
to Supernatural because they pretty much drilled that word into my head.
I also got a really good one for all the people at home who know. And man, I am cringe, but I am free for saying it, and I'm gonna say it soon. It's gonna be one of my finale pieces for what I think could be a good adaptation.
Okay, so
Just a teaser for that.
Okay, so with that said, let's move on to our next big question. That being, what is the worst video game movie? Mm-hmm. This is where it gets tough because we go from so few options to so many.
So many.
So many. Where do you want to start off?
We'll start off with a few, and then we can delve into the many.
Let's start off with probably the most famously bad video game movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
What?
Yeah, we're gonna start off.
Unbelievable.
We're gonna start off with the big tier, the top tier of trash when it comes to video game movies. Even when I was watching this as a kid trying to get into Mortal Kombat. Mm-hmm. Oop, we got some music playing. Yeah.
Hey, I was worried that was what was causing the feedback, but it's not. Luckily,
nope. What was causing the feedback
was a volume dial right next to a mic, so the pair of headphones and mic were just ringing. So
Exactly.
shout out to Matt Porter for fixing that.
Yeah. So, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Even as a kid, trying to getting into Mortal Kombat because I was a teenager. This was the perfect opportunity for me to get into the games. And of course, I got into the games via story modes and movies. So the story modes of Mortal Kombat 9, which I grew up on, absolutely loved. Mortal Kombat, the first one in the 90s, honestly, it's a guilty pleasure. It's fun, it's stupid, but it knows it's stupid. Mortal Kombat Annihilation knows it's stupid, but is too cheap to be self-aware enough. The green screen, the effects, the fight scenes, oh my god, and the acting is absolute trash, and I love it.
Tragic.
It's like, do you know who Sindel is in Mortal Kombat? She is the mother of Katana. She is like mother of Katana. What was it? Wife of Shao Kahn. Why do I know all of these names?
Yeah, I know
play
her.
the games.
She reminded me of Mrs. Frankenstein.
Exactly.
With the white streak.
Exactly. That was the whole point. So Sindel shows up in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Katana sees her. Sindel has apparently risen from the dead at this point, and Katana says, "Mother, you're alive." And clearly the two actresses are so close in age that you don't buy for a second that they're mother and daughter. And Sindel just looks at Katana after Katana says, "Mother, you're alive." And like in the most over-the-top Power Rangers way, Sindel points to Katana and says, "Too bad you will die." And just the face that she makes, just, oh my god, you knew right away we were in for a ride.
Oh man, I feel like I watched one of the first ones with you, and I don't remember anything. Like it wasn't even like a Freddy versus Jason where it was like memorably like over the top and kind of corny. It was just like I don't remember anything except for the music. But even then, I feel like the internet made that in my head rent free.
Exactly. And since we're talking about Mortal Kombat, as for the new one, it once again falls into the category of more of video game movies that are fine, not memorable.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a bummer, honestly. It's just sad when like something that could be really good doesn't try.
Exactly. And the big problem I have with the new Mortal Kombat movie is the fact that what do you expect in a Mortal Kombat movie? What is the big selling point for it?
Combat among mortals.
Well,
and some gods.
what is the
and some demigods.
What is the story? What is the essential story of it?
I only played the
I'll give you a
latter
hint.
mode.
It starts with a T.
Is it a character? Tournament?
Yes. Do you know what is not in the new Mortal Kombat movie?
Raiden?
A tournament.
Oh.
There is no Mortal Kombat tournament. It is a setup movie for a sequel.
But it's not setting up anything?
And it kills half of the characters.
Well, I mean, when it comes to like the fatalities in
It
the game, it's
doesn't
like,
even
yeah,
have-
they're not coming back from that unless they're literally resurrected.
It doesn't even have Johnny Cage in it.
Wait, what? He's the movie guy. He's literally an actor. Like, wait.
They set him
You're
up
missing
for the sequel.
I mean, that's not bad, but like, is there a good reason that he's not in it?
No, they have some new guy specifically made for the movie as the main character, even though there are multiple main characters they could have chosen.
There's probably also like
Liu
deep-rooted characters.
Kang, Kung Lao, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, hell, Raiden.
Or you could just start with whoever the main person of each. Is it tribe or like each of the fighting groups?
Is it
Cyrax?
No, it's what's it called? The realms. Is it Earth? Because it's Earth realm. It's Outworld. It's
Just like
Nether realm.
We just bounce between each of the perspectives because there's no like singular character except for Shao Kahn because he's like the final big bad.
big bad.
Honestly, from his perspective, that would be amazing. If we see like from like most of it from his view,
Interesting.
like a Thanos thing, kind of.
Interesting viewpoint. I do have a way that I think
Shao Kahn is the guy with the skeleton face, right?
exactly.
Okay.
He's the big muscly guy with the hammer and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I had to fight him. I think I was playing Striker when I did the ladder mode. He's pretty good because of his range gun. I only played the hard reboot on the Xbox 360.
I remember in Mortal Kombat 9, there is Stryker's big opening line before he begins a fight. It did not age well.
Oh.
Police brutality coming at you.
Oh yeah.
That did not age well. Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yep.
It just doesn't work.
I do have ways that Mortal Kombat as a franchise can be fixed for movies, and I will get into those later on.
BR rated. That's my first thing. BR rated.
Well, that's the first big thing. And to be fair to the new Mortal Kombat movie, it was R rated.
Okay. So it knew it knew what to skeleton with. It knew what to build up basic and then what?
Exactly.
Mishandling. Instant mishandling.
Exactly. There were times where the new Mortal Kombat movie was cool, but for the most part, it was just boring. So, with that said, wait a minute. You haven't said your worst.
My worst?
Your worst video game movie.
Probably the Mario Bros. The Mario Bros. One with a spike-headed regular person.
Mario and Luigi Mario.
Well, yeah, their last names is Mario.
Exactly, but
And technically Mario's the son of a Jumpman. Like Jumpman's the original guy. I don't know. I watched a game theory on it like 6 years ago.
Monkey.
Yeah. I think he had actually Donkey Kong Senior. It might have just been actually no, it was just Donkey Kong.
I can't just watching clips from that movie, not even whole scenes, just 1 minute clips from that movie, and I am completely
Just screenshots, dude.
I'm completely lost as to how this was a Mario movie. How they thought this would be, okay, this represents the games perfectly. Make it ugly as sin.
I mean, compare it to like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, the third thing I ever watched on Netflix when it first launched. It was amazing.
And of course, the classic line of the trailers promoting the Super Show: "You do drugs, you go to hell before you die." Like,
I was
what?
thinking, no, I'm thinking if you're not watching the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, you're gonna turn into a Goomba.
What?
That was one of the promos.
What was his name? The guy who played Mario.
Let's find
Was
out.
it why do I think it's a Sergio? Well, because I'm canceled for that. For thinking that his first name is a Sergio.
Why? Because he's Italian.
Yeah.
Who played Mario in the movie?
Well,
Yep, John. No, that's Luigi Mario. His last.
That's the movie ones. That not Bob Hoskins. Not Bob Hoskins. He played Mario in the movie. And to be fair, if you were to cast Bob Hoskins as as Mario in the 90s, I would believe it. I would say, yeah, that does work.
This is what I'm thinking of. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, you're thinking of Bob Hoskins.
Wait,
I'm
were there
talking
two
about
actors?
the Super Show.
Oh, the Super Show? Yeah.
I'm talking about the Super Show. Who plays Mario on the Super Show?
Oh yeah, here I know. I thought you were talking about the movie.
No, why would I talk about the movie while we're talking about the Super Show?
The Super Mario
The
Brothers
Super Mario Show.
Lou Albano.
Lou Albano. Lou Albano. Lou Albano. Albano. Why does that word sound weird to me? Lou Albano.
It sounds familiar. I don't know why. I think I feel like the Super Show answered a lot of questions about Toad, though. Necessarily, it's like, oh, he is humanoid, and the mushroom in the show is a hat, but in the games, it's part of him.
Yeah,
because he is a Toad. He's a Toadstool, but his name's Toad. I think his full name might be Toadstool, but they just call him Toad. I think. But yeah,
So does that mean his last name is Stool?
Hey, Stool, get over here! If you're not watching the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, I need to get that audio sample.
Exactly.
You're gonna turn into a Goomba.
So, with that said, in your opinion, the worst video game movie is the Super Mario Brothers movie starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo.
Yes.
In my
Luigi
opinion, the worst video game movie, bar none, is Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Oh, you got the sound? You got the sound bites?
Maybe.
Oh man, here we go.
Sounds very nice.
Mario Brothers Super Show, you're gonna turn into a Goomba.
What? What does that mean?
You're gonna turn into a Goomba.
What?
You didn't see the game theory about how? Wait, no, that doesn't work because Goombas are things. Supposedly,
Goombas are things.
Well, no,
What?
I'm saying the bricks in the Mario games are actually what's his name? Peach's like kingdom subjects who got turned into bricks. So every time
And Mario is just punching
I was
them?
gonna say every time he smashes one, he's technically it's like when
Is he robbing them?
no when someone gets turned to stone and like in Percy Jackson when he breaks all the statues and then he finds out this is Medusa's lair, that's why there's so many statues here.
Which, in hindsight, just makes you think that, oh my god, did Percy technically kill those people?
He had the highest kill count of innocence. He had the highest kill count of innocence besides gods.
Wow.
Besides like gods, not
Because I'm
demigods.
pretty sure even there are loopholes around Medusa's whole statuification sort of thing.
Yeah, mirrored glasses.
Exactly. Unless, of course, you break the statues, in which case, no, those people are just
I
dead.
was gonna say if they turn back, bro, they're gonna turn back exactly as the stone was.
Exactly. Which means...
Which, yeah, you know what that means.
So...
You know what that means? You're gonna
You know what
turn
that
into
means?
a Goomba.
Alright, so...
Get into those poles, please, or else you're gonna turn into.
Get into those poles or else you're gonna turn into a Goomba.
I need to make that a soundbite for
With
this.
that weird threat in mind, we move
It's
on.
a PSA.
We move on to our final poll, that being which video games should be made into movies.
Did you form a list? Because I got a short list.
Before you get into the list, we do have some people who answered.
Let's listen to the people.
Specifically, Audrey Charlotte, who
Let's-
answered with, I'm pretty sure she answered 3 video games. Nope, just 2. So she answered Life is Strange, which I have heard of.
It is a like pick your path. What is that thing? I guess I would call it the Telltale style. But
Yeah.
what image did I just
What? We got some image.
The funniest freeze frame from the show.
Bring the Super Mario Brothers show back to Netflix America.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying, man.
But the image they use
It's
for
like
it is just Luigi with a blue shirt on, and just the face that he's making is just
cursed.
pure-
It's so cursed.
Oh my god.
There's no good. It's a miracle when they find good frames of the show. I'm gonna. Okay, there we go. I just need. I can't have that in front of me.
We got back to normality.
But yeah, for what odd.
She said Life is Strange.
Yeah, that is one of those like pick your path kind of games. I don't know how to describe it. I've seen playthroughs of it, and yeah, I feel like especially as a series, kind of like what we saw Arcane on Netflix be.
I
I hate League of Legends.
I've
Sorry,
heard of it.
another good show. I hate League of Legends. It is the worst thing I have ever seen in my life.
I don't know. I've heard of League of Legends. I know nothing about it.
Have you seen what it looks like?
Nope.
You know, like mobile games where it's like a Clash of Clans or whatever?
Yep.
Those big top downs. It's like that diamond 2/3 angle.
Yep.
It's terrible. I hate it. I don't like it. It's not Civilization, like those big world, big war simulators.
Mm-hmm.
Those are cool, but those stupid little top downs that are, mobile games, but they're competitive. I hate League of Legends and all that. I just hate that genre, and I don't know why. It just gives me visceral rage over when people. It's like the cigarettes of gaming, I'd say. It is all addiction.
That's a bold statement.
All addiction. Oh no, they totally agree. Whenever I say it, they're like, yeah, it's terrible. I'm like, why are you doing this?
I mean, Henry Cavill almost missed the audition for Superman.
Hey, that was Warhammer. Warhammer's different. I think everyone who's cool plays Warhammer. Everyone who I like that is cool, including Henry Cavill. Cavill, sorry. He said it was like cattle.
Yeah.
So you messed me up on that. But yeah, Arcane on Netflix, not bad at all because it's a different thing. But that art style really worked, and I liked it.
I've heard nothing but great things. Never seen it. I still have yet to see Squid Game.
What?
I wanted to see. I was going
Disown
to
him. Everybody here, call in. You guys can call into the show at 215-619-7366. Make fun of Billy for not having seen Squid Game yet.
I was going to watch Squid Game for New Year's, but then as my family was scrolling, we saw Tiger King 2.
Oh, what, Tiger King 2?
Yes.
No.
And we were like, we have to see what this is.
Man.
The curiosity, man.
Oh yeah, just a heads up, guys. You can message Real Records on Instagram right now if you want to give any feedback, or call 215-619-7366 if you want to call in right now and tell us your favorite video game movie, or favorite video game related thing or TV show.
Exactly. So,
as you were saying,
with that said, Life is Strange. I've heard of it. I would know it if I saw it. I know nothing about it. I've never played it. I've never seen story modes of it.
It's been a while since I've seen stuff of it, but it was great when I saw it.
I know there's a sequel, but that's it. I know there's a sequel that's technically a prequel, but that's all I know of it. Mm-hmm. So, and she also said her final one was Until Dawn. Which, what's Until Dawn?
Rami Malek's in it. It's really good. It's another one of those it's a butterfly effect game. That's the genre I'm trying to say. It takes place on a vacation in the mountains somewhere, I forget where, with a bunch of teenagers or young adults.
We're gonna call those Pip. We're gonna call those Pip video games now.
That might mess me up because
PYP. Pick your poison.
Can I call them butterfly effects just because there's Pip in another game? Pip is a thing in a game. It's a mechanic.
Okay.
In Fallout, there's a Pip Boy.
Pip Boy.
It's like a watch phone, everything device.
So an Apple Watch.
Yeah, but it's got more uses. It's like a phone on your wrist.
So an Apple Watch.
No, it's a phone.
An Apple Watch.
You can't call on an Apple Watch.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, you can only text, and you can only type with your voice.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Well, for now, until the Apple Watch.
Okay, it's more like an iPad on your wrist.
Updated.
It's an iPad on your wrist.
Until the Apple Watch is updated, then it will have that.
Bro, at that point, just use your phone. But anyway.
At that point, you got to use your phone, but at the same time, calling from your watch, you look more futuristic.
I mean, then you might as well just have the earbuds on then.
Yeah, but
you do look like a secret agent if you do that. But there's better watches for that.
Yeah, by the same time,
join the Secret Service.
Yeah, by the same times, you can just be talking into your watch and not look like a crazy person and be like, Spock to Enterprise.
Yeah, and then the Secret Service tackles you and be like, how did you get your hands on this? Code 3. But yeah, for Life is Strange, amazing choice. I totally support it.
But
I was going to ask her.
But Until Dawn, that's the focus of the thing now.
Yeah, sorry. Until Dawn is a butterfly effect style game, specifically delving into it among a bunch of young adults. I think late teens, early adults. I forget how old they are in the game. And they all do a vacation in the mountains where they are...
Oh, I think I know this one.
...hunted down...
I think I know this one because Grant Ward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in it.
Oh. Basically hunted down by a... I think it's a... Wendigo. They're hunted down by a Wendigo in the mountains, and pretty much a drama plays out and ensues during that.
By the way, if you guys haven't seen Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's on Netflix. Go watch it. You will not be disappointed.
Is it canon?
It's all over the place.
It's Marvel TV kind of canon where it's gonna be brought in at some point, just not directly.
Exactly. And speaking of Marvel TV, February 28th, mark your calendars. That's when every single Netflix original Marvel show is leaving.
Where's it going? Disney?
We don't know.
Probably Disney.
We don't know. At the moment, it's going nowhere. It's just leaving.
It's Marvel. It's definitely going to just go to Disney, or it's going to play on it might just be owned by a network momentarily and played on network TV.
For the foreseeable future, there will be no Daredevil, no Luke Cage, no Jessica Jones, no Defenders. No one cares about Iron Fist, no Punisher.
Get your binges in, I guess, except for Iron Fist, you said? Is it worth it?
It's not worth it, but it's important, sadly.
Gotcha. Like Iron Man 3.
Yeah. No, it's more like Iron Man 2.
Gotcha.
But with that said, you gotta watch Daredevil because now it's important.
Yeah. Get into those polls. Get back into those polls. I want to know. I'm hungry for more information.
All right, so you answered.
I sure did.
You answered 3. The first one being Just Cause.
Man, I love Just Cause. It's my gravy and biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy. Every single person listening, if they are listening from the South, just turned off.
Because I said it slightly wrong.
Exactly.
Open world Michael Bay video game. It's a Michael Bay video game.
I hate it already.
No, like in a good way. Absurd chaos. You are the main character. Basically,
You're the main character. Oh my god!
I'm saying you have plot armor, and in a good way. It's like extreme action. When you play it, once you just roll with it, it has chaos momentum. Basically, it revolves around the main character, Rico Rodriguez, who's like I'd say he's the dictator, Verminator. You know, he gets rid of established dictators or authorities.
So he's a hitman.
No, he's an ex-agent of an American agency, and uses his stolen equipment to basically take down entire empires in mostly South American countries.
So he's a terrorist.
That's a label. I'd call him more of a hands-on revolutionary.
Sure.
I mean, I just want to show you a comparison picture. Oh, I forget who it
Sure,
is.
and the Jedi didn't steal kids from their parents.
The Jedi worked for the government. He doesn't. There's your difference. There's your justification.
He used to work for the government.
Well, no, he was more like adopted because we never found out what his backstory was, and then we found out the agent who picked him up after after his parents were assassinated. We find out blah blah blah. Big story. 4 games. You can skip 1, play 2, play 3, play 4.
So
It's worth it. I think the adaptation of it could be so perfect if Michael Bay directs it, because it would only make sense if he did.
Oh no.
All of the character is there. As long as you actually adapt elements of it and include characters who we already love, it can work.
Secondly, your second answer was Fallout.
Yes. Fallout has... Oh, it's going to love this. Fallout has an immense amount of lore. Like, it's a lot harder to put into words.
Which would you say is more lore? Fallout or Five Nights at Freddy's? Five Nights at Freddy's has a ridiculous amount of lore that I do not care about in the slightest.
If you dip your toes in, you will fall in. That's all I'm saying for the Five Nights at Freddy's lore.
That's honestly what I'm scared of, because that happens with literally every single thing that I learn. Like the tiniest bit of lore on, I want to learn more. It happened with Star Wars. It happened with Lord of the Rings. It happened with Firefly of all franchises.
Hey, Firefly's amazing.
Firefly's amazing, but it happened with Firefly.
I need to rewatch that. But you, watch all of like Markiplier's FNAF playthroughs. He's like the king of it. He literally calls himself that. And then watch all the game theories on it.
Yeah.
It's totally, if you want to just delve into something that, just for the sake of it, yeah. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But Fallout, what can I say about it? Starting from like small beginnings as a top-down pixel survival game, like an old, like, I think it was exclusively on PC first, and then it got bought by Bethesda, where they made it a fleshed out 3D open world survival. Post-apocalyptic, obviously. In the wake of a nuclear apocalypse formed by, I guess, I'm not super knowledgeable on, but it's basically like World War III. I think China and the Allied powers in a hot war, not a cold war. And in this universe, microprocessors never were made, so everything is analog. All the technology is. So a lot of things, despite being hundreds of years in the future, they are Atomica. Like, the style is Atomica. Everything's got silver lining. Everything is bulky and relies on clicks, lights, and hard wiring, nothing digital. That's why I say, like, the Pip-Boy is like the universal device that, like, all of the wasteland survivors.
So it's sort of like steampunk in a way.
No, actually. And one of my other things from Bethesda is steampunk, because it actually uses steam-powered, well, whale oil-powered, steam pipe-driven technology. Fallout is nuclear. It's more like nuke punk.
Interesting.
Nuke-apoca-punk.
That was, just from what I'm hearing about this, that conjured up the word interesting, which I can say more than was my response for Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't care.
It conjured up more for you?
It conjured up more of a response in terms of lore, in terms of information for the lore than Five Nights at Freddy's did.
Gotcha. But yeah, for Fallout, it's more like the individual stories themselves that go into, that go into each of the vaults. It's everywhere it starts from the vault, and you delve in the games. You go into each, and you find out what happened over cryo years. The people who weren't cryogenically frozen, at least in 4. I'm not going to say anything about spoilers, because the only one that I didn't really play was the most recent 76, because it had bad rep at the start, because it was the only online one. All the ones before it, though, year 3 amazing, New Vegas amazing, 4 unappreciated at first, and then treated like one of the top 3. I think Fallout 2 was loved by like old fans. They all graphically they were a little bit brown and green, just they were a little mushy. 4 I think was the most fleshed out,
and
especially as a shooter.
So the 2 that you said, Just Cause and Fallout, and then you said one last one that I'm really interested.
The steampunk one?
No, you said one other one. You said one other one that I'm really interested to see your reasoning behind, because your third and final video game that you want to see be made into a movie was Kirby. I want to know your reasoning for that, because that interested me. I wanted to text you asking you why, but I knew this would...
It would be so much better if I told you.
Exactly.
You want to hear my stuff on it now?
I want to hear... Make your defense.
My defense? Kirby. What can I say?
Pink puffball?
Adorable pink puffball with a bunch of friends, an amazing aesthetic, adorable here. Sorry. You know how you love the Old Republic cinematic trailers?
Yep.
And you wish they were adapted to a long-spanning trilogy or series?
Yep.
I like Kirby for that. When I had my 3DS, it didn't have YouTube. I think it did, but I didn't know how to install it because I was I knew how to install Netflix and sign in, but I didn't know how to get a web browser or YouTube. I don't think it was... I'm not sure if it was available or something, but it had Nintendo Video, and it played a lot of cinematic trailers, just looping through them. That and Dinosaur Office. Do you remember Dinosaur Office?
I do not remember Dinosaur Office.
Dinosaur Office is one of the things why I love Claymation, too, because it got me into Claymation, because I could do that on the same device after I watched it.
Was Dinosaur Office a video game thing?
No, it was an internet thing.
Oh, then no. I still don't.
But yeah, Kirby has story. It's hard to describe, but it has story, it has characters, it has places, and you can just... It
has story and places,
but it doesn't have a consistent thing, as far as I know, because it's always been like, the crystal shards and space fairies taking something from him, and then he goes on a universe-consuming quest because he can eat everything.
I feel like this would be made. I think if the guys who made Steven Universe made a TV show about this, it would be genius.
Rebecca Sugar herself would break down crying tears of joy at the idea of that. I think.
Who?
the girl the creator of Steven Universe.
Oh, okay.
She would probably. I mean, her art style would absolutely work for that too because it's adorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kirby, even like a big like high budget movie would be amazing. Like it would be an exciting space movie. You know how like Spider-Verse is an exciting visual like way of demonstrating how the character moves?
Yes.
I feel like Kirby in any art style, like, you know, high detail, dramatic CG like Pixar, cute, bouncy, cell shaded like Ghibli, or even simple TV stuff. Like it works in anything because he's simple, but he's not basic. You know?
Interesting.
It works. I feel like no matter what you do, as long as you don't try, I don't know. I can't think of a way that they could mess it up besides bringing him into the real world. That would never work, in my opinion.
I feel like that's the
One thing they'll do.
That's the easiest way for a video game movie, for outlandish video game to be made into movies. That's like the big. Actually, that's always been the adaptation. That's always been the easy adaptation. The more I think about it, like He-Man in the 90s was made into a movie. So what did they do? They brought him into the real world.
I don't like that. I never liked that. I can't explain why.
Why would you bring He-Man, of all people, played by Dolph Lundgren too?
Unless you do some cool thing where, you know, it's Hanna-Barbera, isn't it? The anime was it animated like that? If you brought him to the present in the Hanna-Barbera universe, that would be awesome. And it would be like is it the Chang Gang was one of the series? Scooby-Doo. Technically, he'd be a DC character if you think about it.
Oh, that's actually interesting.
Right? If you brought him to the don't bring things to the real world. Bring them to the present in their world. Then it works because then you can go to quote unquote real life, but it makes sense more. Time travel to most people now is great. Space travel, like in interspace, like, you know, multiverse.
Space battle.
What's the name? Multiverse. Humanity is still easing into it when it comes to any form of media that isn't, you know, delving into a multiverse on its own, like Dragon Ball or Marvel, because, you know, they've been so long established. It's like, oh, multiverse is the next big thing after time travel, obviously.
But who would win, He-Man or Wonder Woman? Just a little off topic, but now I'm just thinking about it, considering the fact that he could potentially be in a DC universe. So who would win, Wonder Woman or He-Man?
It really depends on who the plot loves more, but probably Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman's... He-Man's not a god, is he? Is he a demigod?
He has a sword. Like, what? There's the whole speech at the beginning of the show that I'm blanking on. I've never seen the show, but I know of it.
But if you want to see an interdimensional fight, one between him and Lionel. Because that would make sense. Like, it's the big.
That would be interesting. That would make my dad's dream. That would make my dad's dream come true.
Yeah, it's his multiverse fight that he wants.
Absolutely, and he would totally be. I do feel like he would be rooting for Lionel all the way.
Gotcha.
So, with that said, I want to move on to my picks for the movies, the video games I do think could be made into fantastic movies. And it's going to be very short, very simple, mainly because you already said it. The Old Republic games.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder first.
No.
I just mentioned
the Old Republic games are perfect grounds for a new prequel to the prequel trilogy. Mm-hmm. Exactly, and you a prequel, and you have two people, and you have two villains / an anti-hero that you can focus on, ripe for the picking, right to put into canon. Darth Malgus, who can be the big villain, and he already looks like Darth Vader. He's already bald. He's got the big.
He literally looks like
movements.
Darth Vader if you just took the samurai cap off.
Exactly. He has all of the big swinging bat-like movements of his lightsaber, and he even has his own respirator, and he's just an actual intimidating presence. And you can have him fight, what was it, Satele? Yeah, Satele Shan, who would become Grandmaster of the Jedi Order later on. You got your villain, you got your hero, there you go. And the other one that you can also pick from is Darth Revan, who you have an entire trilogy tailor-made. You can go for the first movie, which is just going to be Jedi Knight Revan leading a rogue group of Jedi into the Mandalorian Wars, and realize
How many years before the prequels do you just want to tell us how long this is? Like 1,000 years?
I'm pretty sure this happens like 3,000 years.
Okay.
3,000 years. 3,000 years BBY, which is before the Battle of Yavin. I'm fucking nerd.
3,000 BBY, Jesus.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry.
What, for nerding out?
Yeah, we're just gonna say that.
Okay.
We're just gonna say that was it. Let's just say that your slip up happened to me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I accidentally did. I'm sorry.
Neither of us slipped up. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So,
but one thing for things like that, it is a beautifully crafted cinematic trailer to get people excited. Now, why does it do that so well? Because it includes all of this excitement capsulated in 2.5 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on how long each of them are. What did the first Suicide Squad try to do because they thought it would work so well with the hype, and it messed up in practice?
They made an amazing trailer, and when people loved the trailer so much, DC decided, okay, the people who edited the trailer, go ahead and edit the movie to fit the styles of the trailers. Man,
this engine works really fast on this car, or this battery makes this electric car go really fast. I'm going to put it in my muscle car. Hey, why did my muscle car collapse? Oh, because it's not meant to handle a battery. Like, you can't that's like putting nitrous in my golf cart doesn't make it go 1,000 miles an hour, it just makes it explode. You can't make someone who's supposed to do 2 minutes, action-packed, sync it all together, no spoilers, and make sure it bounces enough so that we're excited at things. And now you just have a lukewarm 2 hours of, wait, stop, wait, why did you cut there? Wait, whoa, why are you panicking? Whoa, stop. Like, it disappoints.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have your first movie with the Jedi Mandalorian War, ending with Revan realizing that the Sith manipulated the Mandalorians. You have your second movie where Revan tries to get the entire galaxy ready for an entire Sith war, himself turning to the dark side because that's the way that he thinks is the only way to stop the Sith. And at the very end, he fights Bastila Shan, and he gets his amnesia. Third movie, you have a brainwashed Revan going back to the scene of the crime, going back to his fallen apprentice of the dark side. Neither of them realizing who they are, and the two of them fight. You have your trilogy tailor-made. You have Jedi Knight Revan, you have Dark Lord Revan, and you have Prodigal Son Revan, all for the taking. Why do you not do that?
Doesn't he become a gray Sith?
He goes from Jedi to Sith, back to Jedi, and when he realizes his past, he just stays in the middle.
But he still does Sith-esque things, the way that Ahsoka became a gray Jedi.
Yeah, I would say that he is opposite Ahsoka.
Yeah, he's an anti-gray Jedi.
He is too compassionate to be a Sith, but he is not nearly compassionate enough to be a Jedi.
He's not pure,
exactly.
But he's not a monster.
Exactly. One of the best fan films, in my opinion, is where Darth Revan fights another Jedi, and he's constantly saying as they're fighting, he is trying to convince her why the Jedi are wrong, why their holy light or dark view is completely wrong, completely outdated, and as he is torturing the person that she loves, the Jedi, unleashes Force lightning on him, and then instead of killing her, he just goes up to her, hands her back her lightsaber, and says, "The Force does not control you. You saved your loved one because of an ability that you thought forbidden to you, and yet your morals still align with the Jedi Code." Perfect. Why is this not a movie?
3,000 years in the making, he already calls out the faults of an order that's going to overstep its own boundaries.
Those are such interesting themes. explore them.
And you can make it rhyme with all the events that will occur thousands of years after.
Instead, Disney decides to go with, oh, it's not all about the bloodlines, even though it's totally about the bloodlines.
Whoa, hey. It's not about the bloodlines. Man, these bloodlines had some messed up thing occurring when they followed it too strictly. Man, we really need to follow this to make sure we're strictly in line with the bloodlines. Wait, why did you jump back? You backpedaled again.
Exactly. It's...
But yeah, the Old Republic should be, like, games adapted to movies. The Old Republic would function the same way that a lot of things from Legends became, the new canon.
Exactly. Thrawn was originally Legends.
Cobb
and
Vanth.
And then Rebels brought him into canon, and Rebels made him awesome. Mm-hmm. And then you had Cobb Vanth. You had... Who was another Legends character? I feel like there are more Legends characters that returned for Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian.
Well, we can't delve into the Book of Boba Fett stuff yet. But for Mandalorian, we're both thinking of someone. We're forgetting their name.
Are we?
I think there is a third.
Oh, man. Who is it? Is it... No, it's not. It's not Apollo Creed's character, Carl Weathers. That's his name. It's not Carl Weathers' character. Is it?
Character's name.
Well, it's not Baby Yoda. It's not.
Legend.
It's not Fennec because. Is it the bounty hunter that tried to kill Fennec and then tried to kill Mando? Is that who we're thinking of? Is it list of Legends characters reintroduced in canon? We got an ad. Well, that's
Big
first
ad.
of all. We got Thrawn. We got Jackson. We got Kosh. We got Navarre. We got Stark. For the record, I have no idea who half of these people are, and that's
It's just like random background characters. But yeah, especially though Thrawn and Cobb Vanth, very influential now, especially in this new canon.
Yeah.
Or just the singular canon, I guess.
Yeah.
The canon. We'll just call it canon because Legends is Legends.
Exactly.
But yeah, for you though, Old Republic as a game, a lot of its elements could be adapted to a movie or a trilogy very well, or series.
Absolutely. Like the entire Jedi Sith war, it's not just like a clone war where you'll occasionally have a bunch of Jedi battle one Sith. This was entire battlefields of nothing but Jedi and Sith fighting each other.
And this is why they would later on try to say we're not soldiers, so they would never go back to the warring attitude they had because it wasn't really, their way.
Exactly.
It was a Mandalorian way. And then they went to war with the Mandalorians, which, made them look bad.
Exactly. And you want to talk about merchandise. Have you looked at the armor that the Jedi wear in Old Republic? It's bulky and it's huge and it's detailed. That is the perfect cosplay armor.
Exactly. There's a lot that could come out of that, especially. I feel like video games are still the most profitable thing of now.
Exactly. And you want to,
not ignore it. You want to ignore it. You want to decanonize it. You want to make people not interested.
You want to...
It's literally a cash cow.
And you know how every single piece of Star Wars property in some way connects to the original trilogy?
Does this?
No. I can't think of a single way.
It's not going to work.
I can't think of a single way this connects to the original trilogy. However, they can do it because one of the biggest selling points, one of the biggest fan discussions about the Old Republic is who would win in a fight because they're so similar, Malgus or Vader. Well, maybe down the line, Malgus enters into a dark side tunnel like Kylo Ren originally was supposed to do in Rise of Skywalker and sees the future of the Sith.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Exactly.
Do you want to see, in Kenobi, young Vader kind of having his own... Vader, not Anakin, having his Dagobah, and where he goes against...
Exactly.
Okay, that would be cool.
We've seen light side users go into the dark cave and experience their dark side. I want to see what happens when a Sith goes into that cave.
We saw it with Maul.
What will they say?
We saw that with Maul, and it was amazing.
Did we?
When he was being reversed and healed, when he had his flashbacks, he was fighting demons, really.
I wouldn't say that.
That's the closest we've gotten to it, and if they delve into it 100% with Vader, that's $1 million right there. But yeah,
you want an advertising movie, Darth Malgus versus Darth Vader in your trailer. Boom, you're gonna get $1 billion opening weekend.
The only thing that you could, the only thing you're not getting that you're going to get if you do it is the younger audience knowing who he is, so that you have all three of your primary audiences attentive to it, because you have your OG trilogy older fans, loving it, like our parents and older, us prequel lovers, and people younger than us sequel lovers. Totally valid. Just how do you address all of them? Original trilogy fights a character we haven't seen yet, so they both know, and your youngest audience will be hype because it looks awesome, and it is something awesome. Because when you're like older sibling or older cousin or whatever, just someone who's like cool and slightly older than you, so that they have all the cool stuff. When they like it, you like it.
Exactly.
Based on my experience.
Exactly. Oh man, the old Republic. There's so much to explore that is not valid anymore. That needs to be valid.
I was gonna say, that's why it's your strongest argument.
I mean, there was literally, like yesterday, a trailer for a new, I'm pretty sure it was an expansion of the Old Republic. A new trailer came out for it, like in the style of the classic cinematic trailers. And all I'm thinking, and a whole bunch of other people are thinking, is, is the Old Republic canon now? Is Darth Malgus canon? Oh my god, this is awesome. And I'm pretty sure the consensus is no. Which I'm pissed about.
I think me for the FNAF lore is you for the Old Republic lore.
Absolutely.
Because this isn't long spanning. It's just very deep and detailed. Like every step it's taken in demonstrating any detail is like 10 feet deep.
Exactly. You look into like
a very simple point and click horror, which the dev made the mistake of putting short little details on posters or drawings on the walls, and they change a little bit so it catches your eye if you really pay attention. Like, wow, can you tell us more? I want to know more about this. Here's like a entire subreddit of theories. That's from the first game. And he's like, oh, okay, in the sequel, I'll provide some context for the weird stuff that's said on the phone in the first 5 minutes of the game. It's like, wow, there's a lot of detail behind it. Wait, who is he referencing? Who's this person? Who's that? Blah, blah, blah. Rinse, repeat. And you eventually get...
When you start to ask questions, you ask more questions, and then more and more and more. But
then
every time you ask a question, there's always an answer to it that makes you ask more questions. But it's not unsatisfactory. It's always, okay, now I want to know more after you've answered this.
Exactly. For a lot of that, too, because it took a bunch of turns for what was real, what was not, what theories were correct, what were incorrect, driving... Once again, I feel like for me it was really just watching game theory and watching that unfold, and then people who actually deduced the real, like could separate the real from the fake outcomes, eventually building up to like Sony funding one of their projects to make a AAA game, a point and click in like almost 10 years becomes a AAA, technically sandbox, like an open world, but it's a suplex super mall, like the newest one.
Exactly.
But yeah,
so
it's hard to go into detail about it, but it's literally like horror story, long spanning, probably like 50 years worth of stuff, and it's a Chuck E. Cheese horror game.
So with that said, let's get into, now that our polls are done, let's get into the real meat of this episode that you are going to focus on, because I trust you to focus on this.
Okay.
Because you're the video game expert, and then and then afterwards, I'll be what I specialize in. You explain how video game movies can be fixed, and I'll pitch you a video game movie.
And then I'll see if it works with the game, and you see if it works with the movie.
Exactly. And I think the easiest one to go off of is something like what would you say? What would you say is the easiest video game movie to explain how something that can go so wrong can also go so right, and that is accessible to both fans and normal moviegoers?
For a game that hasn't become a movie yet, or
for it can already have become a movie, since movie remakes are a thing. I mean, look at Mortal Kombat. There you go.
I think for that I'd probably start with it.
You start with Mortal Kombat?
Yes.
All right.
All of the issues that you list for it as a movie and as an adaptation.
So how would you say it could be fixed?
Use the fact that there is existing lore. Read the details in text from the actual games, and get like fan details from all over essentially. Like the back of the disc case could probably have the most information for an outline, as long as it's like one of the first ones.
So don't make up your own lore. There's already lore to go off of.
Yes.
Keep to the lore. Keep to the lore, and if you keep to the characters, they will take themselves in different directions that the video games don't go into, but will still feel natural.
Exactly. And if you just switch an outcome because it is a different set of events, it's the same set of characters. With each of the sequels, the events will change because, they'll die in one of the stories. They'll come back. They'll be resurrected. Excuse me. For an adaptation, use the villain that they have. Focus on a perspective. Who is the most detailed character who you can imagine following through all the events? Who's going to run through all of it? Like, who do you think we follow the most that makes sense?
Okay.
What member of each of the groups? Like, whatever Scorpion and Sub-Zero's... Their fighting tribe? What is it called?
The Lin Kuei and the... Not the Shaolin. The Lin Kuei and the... What's it called? The Lin Kuei and the Shirai Ryu. That's it. The Shirai Ryu is Scorpion's clan, and the Lin Kuei is Sub-Zero's.
The Lin Kuei, White Lotus, Brotherhood of Shadow, Special Forces, and Black Dragon.
The Black Dragon is Kano's. Special weapons. What is it? Not weapons. Arms dealing. That's it. Illegal arms dealing business that Sonya wants to bust him for, and that leads her to the tournament.
So, there's your start. There's literally your characters, your establishing event, and your start. And how can you make them interact? Well, what are the characters we see at each tournament? To me, it sounds like this would work a little better as a series.
Well, that's originally what... do you remember... I think it's called Machina or Machina? Do you remember them? They originally planned this to be an internet series.
Machinima?
Machinima, that's it. They originally planned this to be an internet series, and they had like little episodes setting each character up, and then their second season was bringing them all together for the tournament, and it was interesting. I wouldn't call it good, but it was interesting.
It was happening.
Exactly. It was like, I don't know how to describe it because there were definitely good things in it. Ian Anthony Dale, who in my opinion is the perfect choice for Scorpion, played Scorpion in the show, and he was awesome in it. And I loved I loved Scorpion's backstory, how they handled it, and I loved like. It's just interesting because you can tell fans of the games made those episodes, but at the same time, you can tell that they were restrained by the limited budget that they clearly had for each episode.
Now, if they weren't restricted by that, the one thing that I feel like a studio would assist with is lack of pandering, because pandering often can restrain the flow of the story, because some things might have to be more open-ended because for the sake of the progression in the game, some story elements might be restricted. But if you can open up some of that so that it works and flows, I wouldn't call it filler. I would just call it the thing that games can't do because it's a 20-hour spanning thing or it's a fighting like levels.
Yeah. So I think we can get into the pitching of Mortal Kombat.
All right.
All right. So the first thing I would do, change the main character, which goes against everything we just said. But here's my logic. Liu Kang is always presented as the main character of Mortal Kombat. He is the Bruce Lee archetype. He is the one with the bicycle kick. He's the one with the dragon fatality. He is always presented as the main character of the franchise. Liu Kang is boring. I'm sorry, there is nothing interesting about him, and he doesn't become interesting until he starts to get more and more like dark as the series goes on. But at first, he is so bland, boring, dull, and just doing the right thing just for the sake of doing the right thing. And while I'm not against that, it's not a very interesting character. The more interesting character, in my opinion, is Kung Lao. You know who Kung Lao is? He is the guy with the wide
Yes.
rimmed hat. He has the blades on it, and he has easily some of the coolest fatalities. And
Johnny Cash constantly asking him if he can wear the hat. Please stop taking it.
And every single game, every single movie Kung Lao is in, he always dies. And I've always hated that because not only is he probably one of the coolest looking characters,
He's got a razor hat.
but he is also way more interesting than Liu Kang. Do you want to know why?
Let's hear it.
Spoiler warning, I guess.
No, there's no there's no need for spoil. Kung Lao's ancestor, also named Kung Lao, originally won the tournament for Earthrealm. Therefore, Earthrealm was saved from Outworld taking over Earthrealm. Until the very next tournament, when Kung Lao's ancestor was killed by Goro, who is Outworld's four-arm champion. And so Kung Lao, now the modern day Kung Lao has more like motivation to go to the Mortal Kombat tournament. This isn't just doing the right thing for the right thing like maybe Raiden wants him to. This is vengeance. This is something he has to prove. He is not Kung Lao unless he saves Earthrealm. He's not doing this initially for the right reasons. He's doing this to prove himself.
It's his namesake.
Exactly. And you also can be introduced to the other main characters here and there. You can also be quickly introduced to Johnny Cage and really get to know him really quickly. Same with Sonya Blade and her motivation as to getting Kano. Really quickly and really emotionally, you can get invested in Scorpion's backstory in the Nether Realm and his motivation for competing in the Mortal Kombat tournament. More specifically, to get revenge on Sub-Zero, who he believes killed his entire clan and family.
There's your arc. There's your conflict.
You got your motivations for all the characters. You got Johnny Cage, a struggling actor
Who, I'm just saying, could be underutilized or overused. You have to strike a balance with him because he can be very likable, or he could be messed up and completely like abused story-wise.
he can be extremely likable, or he can be overutilized and be the comic relief and
The
nothing
animated
more.
character who sticks out like a sore thumb and is not as funny as the writers intended.
Exactly. So, with that in mind, I do think Ryan Reynolds would be a good choice.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And then we go to the Mortal Kombat tournament where we're introduced to all of the other characters, and we're also introduced to the main villain of the first movie, and who is really the villain of the first game, what's his name? He's the sorcerer. He's the guy. I'm blanking on the name.
Raiden?
No. He says, "Your soul is mine."
Does he wear all black?
Nope. He wears all red.
I know you're talking about.
Is it the sorcerer
Shang Tsung.
is it Shang Tsung? Shang Tsung, that's it. That's it.
That was Shang.
No, it's Shang Tsung. You're thinking of Shang-Chi.
Because you told me. I thought it was just pronounced that way,
Nope.
not Shang.
It's Shang Tsung.
Shang
We're
Tsung.
introduced to the main villain, Shang Tsung. We're introduced to Goro. We're introduced to Reptile. We're introduced to Sub-Zero, and one by one they each fight each other, and one by one, and with each passing round of the tournament, we get to know the characters more and more and more as they get more and more frustrated and they get more and more broken down. And Raiden, who is basically Earthrealm's main guardian, is just consoling each one of them about their insecurities. And eventually it gets to Kung Lao fighting Johnny Cage, and they're so evenly matched, but eventually Johnny Cage takes the fall because he realizes that this is Kung Lao's game. And then after Kung Lao fights Goro, Kung Lao realizes that, no, this is not for me, this is for Earth. This is not for my sake. If I do this, I'm going to lose. This is for everyone's sake. And then he fights Shang Tsung, and it's because Shang Tsung is a sorcerer, he takes the souls of his victims and is able to become the victims that he takes and is able to absorb all of their powers. It's a really creative fight scene.
This sounds like the style when you have a lot of characters. It reminds me of like, School Story or
An ensemble?
Yeah, like a school or prison where you have your very select few people who are like, the core 5, core whatever, and you have all your liked characters, and you try to introduce them one by one and balance them when they're grouped together for a lot more dialogue, and then have like the big overarching plot where you focus in on Kung Lao from his perspective mostly. Like Squid Game and My Hero pretty much do this, where you have your main person who's supposed to be mostly a neutral-ish vessel who's trying to do the greater good, not just for themselves, for the greater good. And then you have your interest, your conflict, your main villain, the interesting character, the funny character who everyone loves and references, and like general inside jokes that are supposed to be timeless.
Exactly. If you want...
Sounds like School Kids. It really sounds like a School Kids story.
If you want your perfect, ideal Mortal Kombat trilogy concept, Mortal Kombat 9 is the way to go. Because that game can be separated into 3 parts. Expand each of those 3 parts, and you will have an entire trilogy of great movies based on video games. You have the first movie, which is just the tournament, and Kung Lao and Liu Kang wins, but in this case, it will be Kung Lao. You got your second movie, which is Outworld retaliates and makes its own tournament, which Kung Lao, in the games it was Liu Kang, actually defeats Shao Kahn. And then the third movie, where Shao Kahn basically says, "Oh, I don't care, I'm taking over Earthrealm anyway," and just all-out war between all of the most disgusting demons of Outworld versus all of just the normalcy of the human world. And it's just an action-packed, awesome, a bunch of characters. It's the epitome of a modern-day epic. It is
a long-spanning epic.
It is it would be the rated R equivalent of modern Lord of the Rings, in terms of not really fantasy so much so as is
a large spanning overworld of characters.
Exactly.
Which I guess you would have to say it's fantasy because it includes sci-fi and magic.
Yeah.
Just multi-world, so it's like, oh, it's fantasy because it's just an umbrella can encompass sci-fi in fantasy, but it can't be sci-fi if it encompasses fantasy, technically.
And you want my opinion about who the director should be? It should be the director of John Wick.
Gotcha. For coloring, for pacing?
Just for fight sequences.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't sure what aspect you were really looking for from directing like that.
If you're going to go for the best visual fight scene, it should obviously be the climax between Kung Lao and Shang Tsung. If you're going to go for the best choreography fight sequence, it should be Scorpion versus Sub-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like that is something that the new Mortal Kombat movie didn't do, because Scorpion just showed up at the very end with no real fanfare.
Wait, one of the 2 most popular characters is on the cover of everything, showed up at the end?
Just showed up at the very beginning for 5 minutes, and then showed up at the end for 5 minutes.
Wow,
that's it.
That is shelving.
Exactly. And he basically showed up just to kill Sub-Zero, and to be fair, it was an awesome fight scene, but there was there was payoff, but there was no build up to it. That's the word I was looking for. Mm-hmm. It was just disappointing. Like, it was so disappointingly fine.
But not like amazing, not memorable, not.
Even the worst Mortal Kombat movies were memorable.
And had like rewatch value.
Annihilation was awful, but it was so awful that it could be hilarious. Mortal Kombat 2021 was so middle of the road that you could watch it, be bored by it, have fan reactions to it, and then immediately forget a week after you saw it.
So it's made for like network TV at 3 a.m.?
Absolutely. It barely even had the Mortal Kombat theme.
That's weak. You literally had... It's like having all of the buttons in front of you and pressing none of them.
Exactly.
Or the only button you pressed was the power switch.
The only character that I think it like nailed was Sub-Zero, who got some of the best fight scenes in the entire movie. And to be fair, when Scorpion does show up, it's again cool fight sequence. And when he shows up, he throws his, what is it called? The
throwy thing on a string.
His rope dart at Sub-Zero's hand, and that's his introduction. The fiery dart just burning away at Sub-Zero's frozen hand, and Sub-Zero's just shocked at it, like, oh my god! And then the camera pans over to behind Sub-Zero where Scorpion is, and the Scorpion, of course, just screams, "Get over here!"
Perfect.
Exactly.
See, you need more of that. Why did you only save that for the end and for a little bit?
Which is weird because throughout the entire movie, including after that, Scorpion just speaks Japanese. So he learned that phrase of English and only that phrase of English, which, weird. Why? I get fan service, but why? You got to choose fan service or logic. There is no middle ground when it comes to that sort of fan service.
You could have just done what most movies do, where they kind of bounce between a language and English.
Exactly, but there is only that line spoken in English and nothing else. Even when he's talking to his own descendant, who is wholly American, I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't know a word of Japanese. Scorpion's still talking to him in Japanese.
He gonna learn you. He gonna learn you Japanese.
He either knows Japanese or Scorpion is talking to a brick wall at that point.
Yes and no, where he's just providing dialogue for him to know, but he can't speak it, he can hear it. Like, he can understand it, he just can't speak it, so it's just to provide dialogue directly for him.
It's meant to provide dialogue for the audience because of subtitles, and that's
I was going to say, and a good excuse for him to not have to actually speak it through the movie. Only for a supporting character to say it just to him.
Exactly.
Just for him.
And even then, like, again, they kill off Sub-Zero. They kill off, what's her name? Katana's twin sister. Is it Melina? Yeah. They kill off Melina. They kill off, they kill off Reptile. They kill off Kano. They kill off most of the major characters before the tournament even happens. And the tournament isn't even in this movie. It's in the next movie. All the main villains, all the big villains that everyone's so excited to see were in the movie, were killed off, and not even in a tournament setting.
I don't think this will work out as a movie, man. Sorry.
It's...
At least from your history, it sounds like... I don't know. I don't think I'm going to make your movie. Sorry. This prompt is terrible.
And the worst part is... Mortal Kombat 2 is in development with a director attached, with writers attached from Moon Knight. Why is it getting a sequel? Redo the whole thing, start from square one.
Like harsh reboot.
Harsh reboot. Do what Star Wars fans are thinking about doing.
A harsh reboot?
Harsh reboot of the sequel trilogy. I keep hearing that all the time. Do you know from Rebels the whole in between worlds? The whole in between world stuff.
When they descended into whatever, when
it was all stars behind Ezra, and there were like doorways to different worlds, to different times, and it was just like a world between worlds. It was very interesting. That was when I think Rebels was really getting some great episodes, and
I don't know. That sounds like way too much of a visceral prequel style reaction. Just stick a trilogy in between trilogies. It always works. It worked with Clone Wars, literally just branching between OG trilogy and sequels. Just make with Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka. Like you're gonna nail some sort of a finale with that.
I feel like that can't work.
Why?
Because the prequels had a full-on plan that, even though it wasn't...
They didn't look like they did. Let's be honest. It was all from George. He was missing so many people from the original trilogy. Don't want to hear it. Like, no one wants to hear this. George didn't have solidification. He had big blobs of ideas, mostly from him. He had a lot of yes sirs at this point.
Exactly.
He didn't have a lot of supporting, crew and writers to assist him as much. So a lot of it, he was trying to nail, new developments in animation and environments in film.
He had blobs of ideas, but at least they were consistent blobs and ideas.
Because they were all consistently from
sequel-
him for what he was trying to build.
The sequel trilogy had no consistency to it. That's why I don't think a simple Clone Wars reaction bridging the gap can work.
But also eviscerating them won't either. Because
I
it can still be open-ended.
I feel like the best way to do it is to just legends it. And I keep hearing that one of the big things that Disney's thinking about doing is going into the world between worlds that they did with Rebels and just somehow erasing the new trilogy.
I don't know. Maybe I'll sound a little old saying that.
Which at this point is probably their best option, because Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett are setting up for the sequel trilogy, but it's not too late for them to steer away from it. The building blocks are there, but they're still just building blocks. They're not a complete puzzle yet.
Or not a complete building. Cause you're
Not a complete build.
It's not built. It's built. It's not even building yet.
The puzzle pieces are there, but you can't fully see the picture that they're meant to engulf.
Yet. But yeah, for that, I don't know. That's just I don't know. I feel like that's a good topic for another discussion, because I could open up an entire can of worms for it.
Absolutely. So, with that said,
Were there more polls that we missed? Did we get-
there were no polls. I do
Just double checking.
no. I do three. I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday polls, and then Thursday we do the show.
Okay, just making sure. One dumb honorable mention I was going to say until I realized it was kind of already done in a way, just for another video game to adapt. My favorite game, I think, pretty much my favorite first-person shooter ever, Titanfall, specifically Titanfall 2.
I've heard of it.
Pretty much, technically, the aspects of it have been adapted, and they work both ways, depending on where you start. Any kind of mech thing, any kind of giant monster thing, or not monster, just like giant things. Like Attack on Titan had the grapple and the monster. Technically, the people were mech. The people are like mechs, I guess. Like it's giant monster people fighting giant monsters with ropes. And then Pacific Rim technically does what Titanfall did.
Oh, absolutely.
But it includes the monsters and the mechs, but none of the people with grappling hooks. Just Cause had the mechs and the grappling hooks also, but it didn't have the monsters.
Yeah, and Pacific Rim Uprising was a big missed opportunity.
Yeah, Pacific Rim Uprising would be an amazing game.
Absolutely.
Terrible movie. Because
It would be an awesome anime too.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine that as an anime?
Evangelion. It's already a thing.
Yeah, true.
I was going to say, it's already there.
But at the same time, like Pacific Rim Uprising, you had the original Pacific Rim where they were fighting alien monsters. Fine. And then the sequel,
The monsters consumed the mechs.
No, like you had your monsters again, but they set up the movie by saying that now that the war is over, terrorists have taken over the remains of the actual Jaegers. So it's just constant terrorism via Jaegers and giant robots and giant robot fights. And at first, it just seems like that's going to be the movie. So the first half of the movie, I was actually really on board with it. And then we just got to, oh no, we're just going back to the monsters.
The monster universe opened back up.
Exactly. And Charlie Day is the villain, and it's just like, really? Yeah, you had a good thing going. You had an interesting thing going. But you just went back to square one, and square one was already a thing.
You opened up another can of worms for me for video games. Funny characters becoming evil. Charlie Day, the funny character, the assistant scientist. No, it works great. In the first movie, it works great. It was funny. It was interesting.
No, I liked him in the first movie as the comic relief. There was no,
But the villain, switching to the villain, is not good. But it can be done correctly. You ever seen... Shut up. Just shut up. No. Man, you just messed me. In Portal and Portal 2. Amazing games. They could be a really good movie. One of the characters who's like the head honcho of this big underground experiment thing. That's where the portal gun is from. It's from a giant experiment facility. His name's Cave Johnson, and he's voiced by J.K. Simmons. I kind of want to play some Cave Johnson things.
You've already got me excited.
I just want to hear. Let's see some Cave Johnson.
You say the word J.K. Simmons, and I'm like, I'm in. If J.K. Simmons is in any movie, any TV show, I'm in. He knows how to pick roles. He voiced Tenzin on Legend of Korra. That's how great his agent is.
Good. I just want to see some good things.
Pre-recorded messages of Cave Johnson.
Bad news is we're postponing those tests indefinitely. Your science adventure. Your test assignment will vary depending on the manner in which you have bent the world to your will. Those of you helping us test the repulsion gel today, just follow the blue line on the floor. Those of you who volunteered to be injected with praying mantis DNA, I've got some good news and some bad news. Bad news is we're postponing those tests indefinitely. Good news is we've got a much better test for you. Fighting an army of mantis men. Pick up a rifle and follow the yellow line.
Now imagine this
You'll
as
know
your
when the test
plot
starts.
villain.
They say-
In the games, though, the main villain of the games themselves is an evil AI.
Yep,
who is,
who is it? Who is like the little thing from like on the ceiling?
Yeah.
She sort of looks like an arm.
Yeah, she's
Like
supposed
who is it?
GLaDOS.
GLaDOS. That's it.
GLaDOS. I'm sure the game's old enough that I could technically spoil it. She's
Yeah, it's way old enough. Go ahead.
An adapted AI who is, after Cave Johnson passed, because he was the one conducting all of these tests, so he left all those pre-recorded messages to continue them. GLaDOS is the AI that he made to continue it indefinitely. Something happened, some weird, like, inside the facility. This thing is giant. This thing's like miles under. It's probably under Kansas or something. Pretty much indefinitely conducting tests. One of the last people subjects left pretty much wakes up after like some long-term coma, inside of this giant facility being like life supported. When she wakes up, she gets all of her equipment and she pretty much has to escape through GLaDOS setting up all of these traps and puzzles for her. I think it's kind of analogous to the movie The Box, where the people try to escape that big experiment of infinite boxes. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
It's like a interior escape. There's some overarching thing that's controlling this thing we're stuck in. We never really see the outside, so it makes us a little crazy. But you see Wheatley on the screen?
Yeah. The little
Idiot
basically
blue
a little
ball.
ball with
Yeah.
a little blue eye.
If you know Porto, you know Wheatley. He's the idiot, basically. The funny idiot who everyone loves to hear from. And once he gets his hands on power, once he like acquires like where GLaDOS is, where GLaDOS controls everything and everyone, that
turns
isn't
evil.
As soon he goes from helping the main character, and as soon as he gets the power, he really likes it, and then he turns, and it works because it's he wasn't just dumb, he's malicious. When he's greedy and dumb, which makes him malicious, and that can work when adapted to like a story, because there's also so much you can build from similar to Fallout, the history of the head honcho who started all of this, along with your main character, who usually doesn't, I don't think they talk really at all. Most of the characters like that don't. That and Half-Life, because they're also connected in the same universe, both made by the same dev. Everyone begging for a 3 of all of them. I think also Left 4 Dead. Yeah, also made by Valve. Same universe, probably. Same apocalypse. But yeah, all of those, Valve can make a really good movie universe, and they could budget it themselves, honestly. Because they're always influencing major stuff. I think what they would do, because the third, quote-unquote, Half-Life, it's like 2.5, was a VR game. But it was like a fully fleshed out game that was in VR, like made for VR. I feel like they would push a concept that I want, because they're good at VR. They could make a VR style movie. I always said, I was like, man, imagine like a fully rendered Pixar movie in VR, so you can like look around the entire scene. It would be beyond amazing, like Toy Story 4 level realism in VR. If once like processors
Like
get
if
strong enough to handle it.
if you could put on an Oculus and experience a movie, like that sort of thing, or
yeah,
just
it would, not like 4DX where it's like spraying you with water when you're in the ocean, but more like you can look around. The lens effects, the sun effects
one
work.
of the characters is drowning, so the theater attendants just waterboard you.
Yeah, no, they just have a hose that they spray at the audience. The aquarium actually did that for one of the movies. I hated it because they had a spray thing at your neck. It was terrible. But yeah, stuff like that. When you want to properly adapt that, somehow a game does it better than a fully fleshed movie sequel that was already messing up the concept that it established. It's so weird for games when a first one is so dry. It's just establishing a concept. Oh, imagine a first-person shooter, but you can run on the walls. You can do X, Y, and Z. It's like this show, or it's like this movie, but you get to play it. Mm-hmm. Movies can't do that. They have the concept, and they implode on themselves in their sequel. They don't know how to build on it. Pacific Rim didn't know how to build on this awesome, oh man, people in big robots fighting the monsters. You know what you could have done in your second movie that matches this big trope that I like? Grappling hooks. Sounds so dumb, right? Imagine the terrorists are agile. They're like the thing that takes on the monsters is a big robotic, like human-controlled machine. The thing that takes on the big human-controlled machine is a bunch of guys with grappling hooks. Because why would they have big machines unless they make their own, obviously? But that would just be like the next step if you're going to step into something like that. Because Attack on Titan did that. It stepped into like people controlling big technology. They're like mechs with legs. Like it's a tank on legs so it can run up walls and stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, I call that a mech because it's a person controlling a walking robot, but it's like industrial. Fighting a monster and a bunch of people with grappling hooks. That it fits the universe in a weird way because it's more like everything is pulley. Instead, it's pulley punk, not steampunk. It's everything is like ropes and like gas pressure. But yeah, so, that's what I'm saying for like you can't do the trope that games do where you establish the concept, build on it in the sequel, and it's amazing and fleshed out and has original characters. In movies, original characters, fleshed out, concept, sequel, delves in and messes it up by mixing the pot and introducing something unnecessary or messing with its own formula. So that's pretty much the theory of video game to movie translation should function backwards for how movies mess themselves up. When they're not adapting something.
Interesting. All right.
That's my lecture.
We both had our lectures. We both had our rants this episode. We got a lot out of this. So
there's a lot there, man.
Yeah. With that being said, as we wrap up, it's time for fortune cookie time.
Fortune cookie time. Where's my fortune cookie?
It's over by me.
It's right here. It's right here.
For those of you who don't know, before we come to these shows, Dalton and I love to go to our local Chinese food joint, Peking House. And as is the case with every American Chinese food place, they gave us fortune cookies. And instead of just reading them on our own, we decided to bring them to the show and read off the fortune cookies with you lovely people, while also adding in our own little zingers to tie in to the show in some way, shape, or form. So Dalton, what should our little ending zinger for the fortunes be this time?
Our quip zinger for this one. Ooh, that's a toughie. I'm thinking like and it adapted well, and I got XP for it, or and I leveled up for it. What do you think?
And get a 1-up.
And get a 1-up with it?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We're eating these cookies on air because we don't care. Yeah. So.
Let's see.
Dalton, you said?
For my thing, I want to say, commitment is the stuff character is made of. The power to change the face of things. And I got a 1-up.
And I got a 1-up for it.
For commitment, I got commitment points.
We got commitment points. Mine is, don't expect romantic attachments to be strictly logical or rational, and get a 1-up for it. So
wait, what?
Don't expect romantic attachments to be strictly logical or rational.
I mean, yeah. That's
I'm single, so
I was gonna say you'll get a 1-up for that. that's your compensation is you'll get a 1-up for it.
Exactly. So I do welcome
call-ins to call in or text each of us on Instagram or text Real Wreckers the Instagram.
Exactly.
But if you want to call, just a heads up, call 215-619-7366 to argue with us live. Please don't curse. Please don't swear.
And if you want to follow us on Instagram, make sure to follow us at Real Wreckers. That is REL_RECKERS.
And our TikTok at Real Wreckers. That's RELRECKERS to stay updated on all our polls and for a shot at a shout out next time.
Until next time, I'm Billy.
And I'm Dalton.
And you can consider this real
wrecked.